Welcome back to DK Sports Radio. You're listening to Don't Get Me Started. Don't get me started about these people that keep saying Mike Tomlin needs to be fired. I'm Chris Carter, Steelers analyst here at DK Sports Radio or DKPittsburghSports.com. Let's just get into this because I deal with this every day. I mean, even when the Steelers were leading the NFL and they were the number 1 seed, they eventually became the number 2 seed with the best record in the NFL at 13-3. And they just lost the tiebreaker to the Patriots. People still wanted Mike Tomlin fired. He has the second most wins in his first 11 years in the history of NFL coaches, only behind Don Shula, one of the guys that would make the Mount Rushmore of NFL coaches. He has a Super Bowl. He's been to 2. He's had to rebuild an entire team because he basically lost an entire team about 5 years in. They got old on him, and that happens, and he's been retooling them, and now they're competitive again. Yes, they didn't win a playoff game this year. This is the 3rd year in a row that they've made the playoffs and not been able to or I guess it's the 4th year in a row they've made the playoffs and not been able to make the Super Bowl. But let's get into this because everyone talks about it all the time. He needs to go. He doesn't know what he's doing. They don't make halftime adjustments. First of all, they do. I hate to break it to you guys, but Mike Tomlin and the Steelers, they often make halftime adjustments. If you looked at how they were playing, I think a prime example is when they were in Cincinnati and they lost Ryan Shazier, and I could tell you everyone in the booth, including Dayon, myself, Dale, Bob Pompiani was not too far from us, from KDK. A lot of people, they were just like, how do we cover this game? Because we're not sure if that kid's going to ever walk again. And we don't even, we know Ryan Shazier just from talking to him, but we never worked with the guy. We never trained with him. We never sat down and shared our life stories with him and, did training camp. That they have a relationship with that guy. And many people, Vince Williams would say he's my brother. And yet somehow, after giving up, I think it was 17 points in the first half, the defense comes out and completely obliterates Cincinnati. And shuts them down in the second half. And that was without their X-factor defensive player. A guy that still leads right now all linebackers in passes defense and interceptions in 2017 in the NFL. People talk about halftime adjustments or just adjustments in-game period because they figure that's the easy way to just say things. They don't have to actually point to anything as far as the big schematic pieces and what the Steelers do and don't do and how often they use a cover 2, and they say things like, oh, they play too much soft zone, this, that, and the third. There's way too many things to have to analyze for people to just say, oh, you know what, it's on the coaching, they need to go, because too many people are too afraid to come after Ben Roethlisberger when he throws 5 interceptions in the game. And I for one, I don't blame him for the playoff loss. I think he played great outside of the entire outside of the 2 turnovers he committed that spotted the Jaguars 14 points and gave them, in a game that the Steelers lost by 3. But he put up 6 touchdowns basically. Technically 5, but he pitched it backwards to Le'Veon Bell in that one. That's a Ben Roethlisberger engineered touchdown. I'm not into this whole theory that all of a sudden, we need to get rid of this guy. There's some people out there like, John Steigerwald, who I've spoken with on many occasions. He's called for Mike Tomlin to be fired from the most insane things. John's a good guy. We talk about the 70s Steelers a lot, and we agree on some things about the Patriots. But when it comes to firing Mike Tomlin, we are very different. And, one of the things I remember he tweeted out during the Colts game when the Steelers punted from the Colts 40-yard line, they said, any coach, I think it was from the 39, any coach that punts from inside the 40 should be fired immediately. And I'm like, that's crazy. And then, it's funny. I hear all these calls for Tomlin to get fired. Meanwhile, Andy Reid and the Chiefs haven't won a home playoff game since the 90s, I believe, maybe earlier than that. There's plenty of teams out there that wish they could have Mike Tomlin and the success that he's brought. And people can talk, and it's just so funny in this town when you hear somebody say, "Oh, Mike Tomlin should have done this." For example, people say Mike Tomlin's a player's coach. He's too nice on these guys. He's too easy on them. He doesn't. They don't respect him. And and then the Steelers let go of James Harrison after it was and then it was revealed. James Harrison was snoring in team meetings. He was late. He wasn't showing up. He wasn't being a good teammate, and he was just not a force. And you saw him, the Steelers didn't reward that. They didn't give him, a helmet up for plenty of games. And people were saying, why aren't they doing this? Why aren't they doing this? Well, it's because Mike Tomlin was like, you need to shape up, man. And again, this is just from accounts from the Steelers as far as what he was doing and where he was for the organization. And I mean, I can tell you, plenty of players just said, go, you can have a good time somewhere else. And yes, he's in New England. And he made one play for the Patriots in the AFC Championship game, in a game where he was pretty much pushed around in a lot of other instances. But you take him off a team that led the NFL in sacks, and and he only contributed one sack to that total. I don't. This is a situation where you look at people and if he had stayed there after that information got out, or if it ever surfaced that he was doing all those things, people would have clowned Mike Tomlin. They would have said, "Oh, you appeal to your players too much. You don't actually discipline anybody." And then all of a sudden, he does let James Harrison go. He sends the message, "We don't do that here." And then he gets picked up, and now Mike Tomlin's stupid because he let James Harrison go. So it's a damned if you do, damned if you don't kind of situation. And I look at that, and I look at other situations across the NFL where a coach, if you want to criticize them, you will criticize them. You'll find a way to do it, because even when you win, I mean that's the thing. I mean, people said 2 years ago, when I remember listening to call-in shows 2 years ago when the Steelers blew out the Ravens at home, and people were calling in saying, "Oh, he's winning with cowers players." I mean, that's literally what everyone is waiting for if you're one of those people that say that Mike Tomlin needs to go. Mike Tomlin has built an organization here, not an organization, I'm sorry, but he's built a roster here with Kevin Colbert that is one of the best in the NFL. Yes, they did not make the Super Bowl. Those things happen. No team can win it every year. In fact, there was a 10-year span where Tom Brady didn't win a Super Bowl. So excuse me. Again, I'm looking at this. If we're being objective, you can't fire a guy after he took a team to 13-3 that lost their key player on defense, that had to deal with lots of drama that came from outside the locker room, a lot of stories, some from inside, some things that Ben Roethlisberger started, but the vague reports from Ed Bouchette, who put them in the bottom of his article, that players came late. And again, Ed Bouchette didn't cite a source. It was just kind of made an anonymous comment, about that. People were talking about, oh, he's lost the team. If he lost the team, that team wouldn't have been able to pull through half the wins that they pulled in this year. Maybe not. Maybe 75% of the wins that they pulled out. Because time and time again, they were locked in. When a team was giving them a hard time, they said, "Look, we're going to find a way to win." And that's what good teams do. And you can say, yeah, they didn't win a playoff game, but they were still a good team this year. They earned the number 2 spot in the playoffs, and they lost it to a Jaguars team that took the Patriots, the team that everyone shines the candle to. But they took them to the limit, and it took Blake Bortles basically going into a shell and them saying, we're just going to hope that we don't lose this game for the Patriots to come back, which is what ultimately happens to a lot of Patriots opponents. The ones that beat them are the ones that don't back off. They don't say, okay, we'll just settle for these amount of points and we're just going to hope that our defense can hold him. That's what the Falcons really did. Matt Ryan, he went in that Super Bowl when they were up 25 points. He stopped processing what the Patriots were doing. He was just going to, whenever he was in trouble, I'm going to go to Julio Jones. And Julio made some great plays here and there, but at the same time, he also was getting blanketed. So it was taking away, and that's what led to the sack fumble that changed the game around. So if you're on the Mike Tomlin needs to go train, by all means ride that. But you're going to be with a bunch of people that don't either know what they're talking about, or they're going to be a part of a crew that's not going to have any influence over the Rooneys. There was that one story of minority owners. Those minority owners might have been, Joe from the gas station and Bob from HR. But at the end of the day, Mike Tomlin's going to be here to stay. It would take some serious meltdowns for him to be in jeopardy. I don't even say his seat's close to getting hot. I think that the Steelers are in a position to be the best organization in football. They still are of the Super Bowl era. We'll see, if that narrative starts to change, if the Patriots win this Super Bowl and tie them at 6 Super Bowls. But like I said, lots to read into there. But it's another thing where you look at Mike Tomlin. He's had all this success, and somehow there's ways people are trying to bring him down and saying he should go. And if Mike Tomlin leaves the Steelers, guarantee you he'll go somewhere else and he'll do some great things. But that's what got me started today. Yeah, no, I wasn't able to do last week because I was pretty busy with a lot of work. We had to do our postseason closing, but I'm still here to say Mike Tomlin. And I'm not coming here to necessarily defend Mike Tomlin. I'm just stating the truth. No way I'm getting rid of no way I'm getting rid of him if I'm the Steelers. We'll be talking a lot more about the Steelers going forward. I got some other gripes to gripe about the Pirates and how people are talking about the Penguins, but that'll be in the future for Don't Get Me Started. You've been listening to Chris Carter here on DK Sports Radio.